Hello guys, how you doing? I hope you are okay wherever you are, and I hope you are having a blessed day, blessed morning, blessed evening, whatever time of day it is where you are. Okay, and welcome again to the motivational channel. My name is Tapua Taps, aka Mason, and this is the only channel where we try to motivate, encourage, and try to share experiences, thoughts, and opinions with everybody who might be interested. The subject matter of the day today, the topic of the day today, is called African people or Black people, why are we so gullible? And we are saying this in relation to religion. We're still on the subject of religion. On this channel, it's not only religion that we talk about all sorts of different things, but we are at the moment we're just talking about religion, but we cover different subject areas too. Okay, so yeah, the title of this video today is called Black people or African people, why are we so gullible? And for those who might not be aware, the word gullible means easily persuaded. Somebody who can be persuaded so easily without questioning anything, without analyzing anything, without doubting anything, without not giving thoughts to whatever they are being indoctrinated into. So in general, as Black people, as African people, we are so gullible. Religion was introduced to us as Africans not very long time ago in Africa. For example, in Zimbabwe, where I'm from, religion was introduced in the 13th century. And we are in the 21st century right now. So we're talking just over 700 years ago. And we all know that life started in Africa. So Africa has been here for a very, very, very long time. We as African people have been in this continent or in this reality for a very, very long time. And in Africa, we do what's called African tradition and culture. We do not have any belief system, because our tradition and culture is our way of living or a way of living. There is no religion, there is no such thing as African religion, but there is a way of living. So religion was introduced to us Africans, and we accepted this religion. You can forgive our forefathers, our ancestors, for accepting this religion, because in most cases they were forced to be indoctrinated into this religion by use of force and violence. They did not have much choice. It's either they accept this religion or they lose their lives. That's how most people got into this religion. And other people were bribed into this religion. If you do this, the Europeans, the bringers of religion, they said if you do this, they went and spoke to African leaders in communities, chiefs and kings, and told them, if you do this, if you do A, B, C, and D, and if you accept this religion, we're going to give you all of this. We're going to give you either food, we're going to give you ammunition, advanced ammunition, so you can defend yourself from your local enemies. So you can be victorious in wars, in battles, then you can regain your power, your position every single time. So this was something that was attractive to all these leaders, our forefathers. So you can't kind of forgive them for accepting this religion, okay? Even though it's totally wrong, but you can kind of forgive them for that. But us people, modern Africans, because we are in the 21st century, we are in the age of reasoning, logic and reasoning. We are in the age of information. We are in the age of thinking, technological advancement. So there's absolutely no need for you to be staying ignorant. because nobody is forcing a gun on you to believe in anything. You've got the choice of accepting something or not accepting something. And we've got so much sources and resources of getting information. So, for example, we've got Google, we've got the internet. Information is easily accessible these days. Like back in the day where information wasn't easily accessible. You had to rely on books, and some of these books were very rare. You couldn't find them, and those that you could find were very expensive. You couldn't even afford them. So information was very, very rare. But that's not the case in this day and age. In this age of Aquarius, where there is information everywhere, left, right, and center, there is absolutely no reason or no excuse for being ignorant. Right. Now, going back to the subject that we've got at hand, religion, African people, black people, we are very, very gullible. And why are we so gullible? This religion called Christianity, and we can talk about Islam, we can talk about all other religions, but really, Christianity is the biggest religion, right? It's it's actually the biggest religion. And if you really want to be technical about it, Islam is the religion of Islam is came from Christianity. Religion, Islam is part and parcel of Christianity. Without Christianity, there wouldn't have been any Islam. Okay, so they're all the same. All right. Christianity, a lot of people, especially black people, they do not have time to ever sit back and start to think how this religion all started. And we do not have to accept this religion. Yes, it's in our houses. Yes, it's in our countries. But we've got a choice of either going with it or going back to our African traditions and culture that we have known for over thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years. Okay? Christianity was introduced as by the Jews as a movement. It is an offspring of Judaism. Now, you have to remember the Jews back in the days, and we are talking about in the first century or even before the first century, the Jews were being persecuted. The Jews were being subjugated. The Jews were being colonized by foreign powers. And the Jews, because they were being colonized and they wanted freedom, they wanted to be free. They wanted to have their own country. They wanted to have their own life, but they've been colonized after foreign force after foreign force. So they was hoping that one day they're going to get this freedom. So they cling on to this ideation of something or somebody who's going to come and rescue them. As messianic figure that was going to come and deliver them from the torture and the enslavement and persecution that they were facing on a daily basis, yearly basis. Do you know what I mean? They wanted somebody, they were expecting and hoping and clinging to this hope that somebody is going to come and rescue them. This is where the Messiah concept came from. This is where the Messiah concept originated from. So they were saying, you have to remember, when you talk about in the ancient times, most civilizations or most communities, they were polytheistic, which means they believed in different gods for different things. In the Roman belief system, they were polytheistic. There were so many different gods for every different things. In the Greek belief system, there was a pantheon of gods. There were so many different gods, and the same thing all over the world. But the Jews, they clinged on to one God, which was Yahweh. And their God, even though he was just a pagan God, but they said he is the only God. Just the same way as the Muslims say only Allah is the only God. Okay? So the Jews, they cling on to this hope that one day Yahweh or their God is going to bring a savior who's going to come and rescue them and take them out of this misery. So this is the Messiah they're looking for. And they were saying, and there were so many prophecies or sayings that were foretold that one day this Messiah is going to come, and he's going to come from the offspring or from the descendant or from the offspring of David, of the genealogy of David. Okay, so this is where I'm trying to give you a picture of where this religion came from. Now, during the Roman Empire, okay, the Jews, so we're talking about Judaism here. And so this religion started off with the Jews, and it was taken over by Greek-speaking Jews who were called Hellenistic Jews. Because in those days, the Jews were being persecuted in their country. So they emigrated and they went to diaspora in different countries. Some of them went to Greece. And Greece at one point took over or colonized the Jews. And some of them lived in their country and some of them lived in Greece. And this is how the Greeks took over Christianity. So Christianity went from the hands of the Jews and went into the Greeks. And I'm just paraphrasing here because this is not really a lecture. I'm just this is just a discussion, okay? So one day I'm going to give you a proper lecture and give you all the right information, the specific facts, okay, of everything. The days, dates, and places, and names, and all that. So this is just a discussion. So, to cut the long story short, the Romans conquered the Greeks. So Christianity moved from the Greeks, from the Jews, to the Greeks, and eventually to the Romans. But during the Roman Empire, there were so many different kind of belief systems, and Christianity was just one of them. But in the Roman Empire, it wasn't recognized as an official religion. It was a pagan religion because it was only followed. It was a movement by a very small cult. Excuse me. So the Romans did not initially accepted Christianity, because Christianity. The thing is, the problem the Romans had with Christianity is that the Christians, they believed in only one God, and he is the only God. All other gods aren't gods. Only Yahweh or Jehovah is the only God. You see, this didn't sit well with the Romans, because the Romans were very tolerant of all religious beliefs, as long as you do not claim that your God is the only God. They were quite happy with you to have as many gods as you want, as long as you do not claim that that God, your God, is the only God. If you can accept all other gods in existence, the Romans were fine with it, because in Rome there was a pantheon of gods as well. Apollo was a god. Dionysius was a god. Okay, I'm probably mixing up with the Greek and Roman gods, but it doesn't matter. But there were so many different gods in the Roman Empire. Okay, and as a matter of fact, so the Christians who were very stubborn and who were very adamant in believing in only Yahweh, in only Jehovah as the only God, they were facing persecution, because it was a crime to do that, because the Romans, they did not accept that at all. Now what happened is, the Christians were being persecuted. They were being imprisoned because the Romans, they did not accept that. Right? They did not accept that, because you have to remember, the Romans emperor was the chief amongst every single person, okay? And they wanted uniformity in the Roman Empire. So any person who claims God to be the only God is not in line with the Roman Empire philosophy, okay? So the Christians faced the persecution year after year, day after day, okay? And this went on for several number of years, okay? So the Christians they were hoping and clinging that one day, things going to change and there's going to be a Messiah who's going to come and deliver them from this persecution. Okay, so this is the Jews, and this is what they were clinging. This is the hope that they were clinging to. Right now, in the third century, there was a guy called Constantine. Now, Constantine was a military figure. I think he was one of the soldiers. Then he made his way up and became a commander or whatever. He went to the to the top position of in the military. Now, Constantine had a goal. His goal was to be an emperor. He wanted one day to be an emperor, to take over the Roman Empire. Okay, so he had an agenda. He had a goal that he wanted to achieve. Now, in order for him to achieve, he had to be strategic in everything that he did. And he recognized all the tensions that was happening and all the confusions and all the conflicts that were happening in the Roman Empire. So he had to come up with a proper plan to take over the Roman emperor position. Now, what happened is in 315 AD, Constantine was very instrumental in what is now called the Edicts of Milan, or the Milan Edicts, in 315. Now, in 315 AD, Christians were forgiven or were exempted for being persecuted. The persecution that happened before, that I told you about that the Jews were being persecuted for their Christian and their monotheistic belief in only one God, they were being forgiven. And Constantine was instrumental in putting an end to the persecution of the Jews and the Christians. That was in 315 AD. And remember, this is a guy who's got strategic move. He's got a strategic plan to be an emperor of Rome. Okay, now, in 320 AD, Constantine got into the Roman Empire was actually being had in internal wars. There were about three military commanders who were vying to be emperor as well, and Constantine being one of them. Okay, now there was a battle that happened at a bridge called the Milvian Bridge. I can't remember the name of the guy Constantine went to battle with, but he was one of the guys who wanted to be an emperor as well. So like I said, one day I'm going to give you a proper lecture with all the names and dates. So you're not going to think I'm making these things up. Okay. Like I said, this is just a chat. So Constantine had a battle at the Milvian Bridge, and Constantine won that battle. This battle is actually the beginning of Christianity, because you have to remember, Constantine wasn't a Christian. He believed in what is called, and he followed what is called Mithraism, which was a pagan religion. Okay, so remember, there were so many different belief systems in Rome. As long as you do not say your God is the only God, they were okay with it. And Constantine believed in Mithraism. Now, when Constantine defeated the other guy at the Milvian Bridge, Constantine declared that a cross, he looked up to the sun, and when he looked up to the sun, he saw a cross. A cross, the same cross that is used in Christian in symbols. the cross that, the cross that where Jesus died and resurrected or whatever, was persecuted, was crucified. So the same cross, Constantine, and remember, this we are being told by Constantine biographer who is called Eusebius. And Eusebius was a biographer of Constantine. And this is what he said to us. This is what he told us. He said, Constantine on that day, and we don't know if it's true or not, because nobody can verify this. But he said, Constantine on that day, and remember, Eusebius is a Christian historian. Right? Just want you to bear in mind that. And so Constantine, Eusebius said in his autobiography of Constantine that on that day, on the battle of the Milvian Bridge, Constantine looked in the sun and he saw a cross. And on this cross, he read the words, "By this cross, I shall win or I shall gain victory." I'm paraphrasing. Those are not the exact words. But he said, by this cross, I shall victor in this battle. Right. So, Constantine, when he won that battle, he became the emperor of Rome. And remember, there was so much tension. You remember the Jews were very adamant. There was always wars and conflicts, and they always waged war. The Jews always waged war with the Roman Empire, with the Roman government and Roman. So there was always chaos every time. So Constantine, he wanted to bring peace and uniformity in the empire. And you have to remember, by this time, Christianity was gaining popular. Christianity was actually a more popular cult than all other cults or all other religions that were being practiced. So Constantine recognized this as an opportunity to create uniform and popularity, and to bring peace in the Roman Empire, because he wanted to be an emperor in an empire where there is a peace, where there's no confusion, where there's no internal conflicts. So Constantine took over Christianity. He said he is now a Christian, recognizing that he is going to gain popularity from the Jews and all other people who are being converted into these Christian cults. So in order for him to gain popularity, in order for him to gain votes and respect as an emperor, he had to accept this religion. So Constantine became a Christian. Even though for example, he wasn't baptized. And as a Christian, baptism is one of the things that you have to follow in the Christian catechism. And Constantine wasn't baptized until he was on his deathbed. So all this time, all of his life, he was never baptized. So that beggars belief. That beggars a question: was Constantine really a Christian, or did he do that as a strategic propaganda move? Now, in 325 AD, Constantine called upon, because you have to remember, the Roman Empire was massive all over Mediterranean. It was all over Mediterranean, and it was all over Africa, and it was all over Asia Minor. So the Roman Empire was expanding. So there were so many people that needed uniformity. So Constantine, he was very smart. What he did is, in 325 AD, he called all the bishops all over the Roman Empire to come to Nicaea, which is modern day Turkey. And in Nicaea, in 325 AD, Constantine brought all these bishops and asked them, and he chaired this meeting and asked them to come up with only one belief, one Christian doctrine and dogma, and one book, right, to follow. This is how the Bible was created, and this is how Christianity was created. Constantine, he asked the bishops to come with only one belief system that only everybody all over the Roman Empire has to believe in. And he asked the bishops to choose only books that can go along with only one set of philosophy or religious Christian philosophy. Remember, back in those days, there were several books of Christianity. There were so many books. As a matter of fact, what we call the Bible now is only a tiny fraction of all the books that were there. There are other books called the Apocrypha that were not included in the Bible. But the bishops, they chose only a few books that can go in line with their philosophy. For example, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they are the canonical gospels, but there are other gospels. There's a Gospel of Mary, Gospel of Barnabas, Gospel of James, Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Judas that were not put in the Bible. That were not put in the Bible, and these were deliberately omitted in the Bible because they did not go along with what the Christian religion or the Christian doctrine and dogma and philosophy was going to be. Because other books of the Apocrypha, they spoke of a mythological, a non-physical Jesus, right? And that's a subject of another day that I'm going to try to explain to you, because Christianity, the real Christians, the first original Christians, they did not believe in a Jesus who is a physical being. They believed in a Jesus as a concept, as a construct. Okay, so that's a different matter. I digress there. But so going back to this Council of Nicaea, this is when the Bible was chosen. And this is how the Bible was chosen. There was about 300 bishops all over, from Africa, from Asia Minor, from the Mediterranean, and they all met in the Council of Nicaea, which is modern day Turkey. So that was the first council of Christianity. But after that, there has been several, I think 8 or 9 in total, councils. They are called ecumenical councils. And these councils are always done by the Roman Catholic. So as a matter of fact, the Council of Nicaea was the beginning of Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, right? This is when the Roman Catholic Church was started from the Council of Nicaea. And so every single council that followed after the Council of Nicaea, the religion, the Christian doctrine and catechism is always revised and developed. So I know that there's some people, some Christians that say, oh, I'm a Christian, I don't follow the Roman Catholic Church, I'm a Protestant, I'm a Pentecostal, the Roman Catholic Church, they are not Christians, I don't believe in them, I'm a proper Christian. That is absolutely rubbish. Do you know why? Because it is the Roman Catholic Church that gave you the concept of Jesus Christ as a son of God. It is the Roman Catholic Church through these ecumenical councils, because these councils, they come and discuss and they agree on a doctrine. And they have, in one of these councils, they have agreed upon the fact that Jesus Christ is part and essence of God. And at one of these councils, they also agreed upon the fact that Jesus and God are the same. So these were developed, these were ideas that were developed by these ecumenical councils. Okay? So I gave you an outline of the history of Christianity there. Right? Now, like I said, this is not a proper lecture. One day I'm going to give a proper presentation with all facts and everything right in front of you, so you will properly know from one stage to another. And I want you to have dates, names, and places of everything, so you have a proper knowledge of everything, okay? I don't want you to be thinking or to be saying I'm making these things up, because I am a researcher, and as a researcher, I want to give you the right information. But at the moment, like I said, we're just chatting, we're just having a discussion. So, like I said, black people, we are very gullible. So this religion, this doctrine, this dogma, this philosophical way of thinking This God concept, this Jesus concept was introduced to us, and we ran with it. Even to this day, to this age, 2019, and we are in the age of development, in the age of logic, in the age of reasoning, and we're still believing in this religion. This religion has got absolutely nothing to do with us. This religion has got nothing to offer us. As a matter of fact, if you go to Israel right now, I challenge you to go to Israel. And if you go and say, I'm an African, I am a Christian, the Jews over there will laugh at you. The Jews over there will look at you with bewilderment. They'll be in shock. One, because Judaism do not believe in Jesus as the Son of God. They do not believe Jesus resurrected and he's a savior, this Messiah. This Messiah thing that we talked about before, they do not believe Jesus is the Messiah. They're still waiting for their Messiah. The Jews are still waiting for their Messiah. And these are the same people that gave you Christianity. And they do not believe Jesus is the Son of God. They do not believe in Christianity. Jews these days, they aren't Christians. As a matter of fact, they don't even read the same Bible. The Jews, they've got their own Bible, which is called the Tanakh. And they believed the most important books in their Bible is the 4 or 5 books of the prophets, the Pentateuch. They do not believe in your Bible, your Christian Bible. And they do not believe in Jesus. And these are the same people that give you this religion. So how can you be and justify you being a Christian when the same people that gave you this religion do not even believe in it? There's only 5% of Christians in Israel right now. The Jews do not believe in Jesus. But you as an African, in this day and age, in this age of information, in this age of knowledge, you cling on and you say there is a Jesus who helped me, there's a Jesus who do this and that, and you believe in the Bible. And you do not even know the Bible itself. Did you know that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John weren't real people? Did you know the book of Mark was the first book that was written before Matthew, Luke, and John? Did you know that the Gospels, that which is called the Gospel of Mark, which is the first book that was written in the Bible, was written almost 30 to 40 or 50 years after the so-called death of Jesus? And while we're talking about Jesus, how come he never wrote the Bible himself? He never wrote a book himself.